Monday, February 24th, I woke to foghorns from the river. I don't remember hearing those before, so I look outside and hey, where'd the river go? It looked like something out of a horror flick and sounded super scary. I guess it's Domestic Goddess Day, and while I have that dehydrator out, I'm going to try it again. Of course, staying away from anything that involves drying yogurt. Blueberry and blackberry fruit leather, which is my first time making fruit leather of any kind. And of course, I have no blender, so I had to come up with a way to soften the berries. I boiled them in a pan of water and then strained them and used forks to mash and tear them apart, which actually worked pretty good. Even though the seeds are still whole, I thought I would just try it anyway. It filled 3 trays and took about 7 to 8 hours, but I had success. I tore them into strips and rolled them up. Way better than storing berries and lasts so much longer. But I'm on a roll now, so I blanched and peeled a small carton of tomatoes, and I cut them into quarters, placed them in a bowl with olive oil and salt and fresh rosemary, and then laid them out on 2 sheets. About 5 hours later, I got a tiny batch of semi-dried and very flavorful tomatoes. Yay! I felt so accomplished multitasking, dehydrating food, and working on this week's project all day. The next morning was a much better day, complete with a rainbow over a playground. Such a sweet, childlike image. So I went for my last walk along the river's edge to see if I couldn't find some more treasure. I came across this little metal tripod-looking thing and immediately thought of that scene in Creepshow with Leslie Nielsen when he buried Ted Danson. Yeah, there goes that sweet childhood rainbow feeling. And when the big boats go by, they create these crazy sideways waves, which brings pretty rocks, and the waves are pretty cool too. Here are my favorite pieces from my collection and last image from the Columbia River in Woodland, Washington. Wednesday is travel day, so down Highway 5, over the bridge, passing Kelly's house I go. Hi, Kelly. I waved at you as I drove past Portland to get to my next stop in Canyonville, Oregon, the Seven Feathers RV Park and Casino. This is a beautiful park with killer deals in the wintertime. Free shuttles to take us to the casino and the market. I won't even have to unhook, which I love. I played video poker until my eyes bled, and then I went back to hit that hot tub. I had that place all to myself for an hour. Oh my God, I'm so happy right now. Uh-oh, it looks like another Domestic Goddess Day. So I'm going to use those semi-dried tomatoes I made. I put half cup of cooked sausage in a bowl with the chopped green onion. I scooped out a shiitake mushroom and I put the choppings in the bowl with shredded cheese and those tomatoes. Oh, and I just happen to have 2 tablespoons of leftover yogurt from last week's zucchini disaster. I microwaved it for a minute and poured it into the mushroom cap. Another yummy lunch for one. I worked on the project a little bit more and then decided to go off to the casino again to try my luck so I can pay for that $276 ticket I got when I was in Fort Bragg. Ugh, so pissed. So I played a bit and found this weird zapping machine and actually won $180 out of it. So close to getting that ticket paid for. But then I got greedy and I played more and I lost it all. Dang it. I guess it's time for bed. Saturday, one last shot at the casino, and then I got to get to work. Oh, look, 14 free games. Oh, the anticipation, the hope. I'm lured in by the sounds. It's so beautiful. And this is my winnings after 14 free games. But hey, you know what? I'm doing okay. I just put in 20 bucks, and look, I'm already up to 58. 76, I'm well on my way to paying for that ticket. Got Deuces Wild twice, but I came home only losing $20 this day. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I had a great time. So now it is time for work and on to the project this week. I made a TV slipcover to protect the TV and then also to put pockets in to store all the little things that accumulate around the trailer. You know, I'm always looking for a place to put it. I cannot get enough pockets. I used AnnMyhreDesigns fabrics here. This is her Folksy Flannel cottons, and I have a couple of these bundles on my Etsy store. They are half-yard cuts, and you'll get 4 of the coordinating fabric line. So look on there if you're interested, but that's what I used for this project. My TV measures 20 inches across by 12 inches up and down. So finished squares of 4 inches will do the trick to cover the front of the TV. 5 columns and 4 rows. The top row is actually folded over the TV, so you can only see 3, but I did cut enough 4.5-inch squares to make a 4 by 5 block checkerboard grid. The great thing is that you can chain piece them in pairs since we're just doing, little 4 squares. So all you're going to do is just chain piece one color to the next color. Be mindful of the direction of your fabric. Here I chose to go every other direction, as you can see, as far as where the print is. Okay, and then once you have the pairs, cut the pairs all apart, sew the pairs together in alternating colors, and then sew the columns together. Then use the other 2 colors to make a pieced backing, and here I just did an easy, uneven little 4 block. The backing in the front should measure, in my case, 20.5 by 16.5 inches, or whatever your TV measures, plus 1/2 inch on each side, and then of course allowing for that extra row for turning on the top. Place a piece of batting in between them. Now I didn't have a big enough piece of batting with me, so I used this Quilter Select Free Fuse powder to heat-baste pieces of batting together. This is one of my favorite quilting products right now. It is great for fusible applique as well. Trim the batting even with the pieces and then press and pin the sandwich all together. This is a similar project to last week's crib board piece that I made, but this time I'm going to quilt each individual square 1/4 inch from the seam rather than directly into the seam like I did last week. So I'm using 3 strands of aurifil or DMC floss in alternating colors and just quilting 1 square at a time. And I'm doing big stitches here, like around 1/4 inch. And this is just another one of those down and dirty, easy peasy projects. I love it. When your piece is totally quilted, go ahead and trim the piece. And you can see here that to trim up a side, you want to make sure that you put your ruler on that 4.25 inch mark, because remember we lost 1/4 inch seam when we did our piecing, and trim it up the side. So you want to make sure you're just trimming the backing, the batting off, anything extra. And then you want to do some sort of edge treatment. So of course you can do a quilt binding. If you're a quilter, you already know that's the easiest thing in the world. You could do hem tape, Here I've got this ribbon, I have yards and yards of this, and so I'm going to cut these pieces to size, and I'm not even going to worry about folding the ends of the under because it's a woven piece, so I'm just cutting the pieces exactly to size. So we've got 20.5 by 16.5 inch pieces. And this stuff is just so easy. There's a right side and a wrong side. So you want to make sure that you're folding the wrong sides together. And I've already done the long sides here. So just heads up, I did put a piece of elastic running about 1.5 inches from the bottom all the way across the piece just so that I can strap it to the TV. I'm not looking to do anything really tight here. I just want to make sure that I hold it in place so it's not hanging free. I pinned it onto the piece, and then I can do the short sides. So again, I'm not really worried about folding the sides under. You can see I'm just popping it right on the piece, folding it under. And then what I've got here is a strand of size 5 pearl cotton. And I'm just going to bury the knot into the corner here. And don't worry about these little frayed edges. We can cut those off, and we're going to be crocheting around it, so they're going to be hidden. Okay, and then just work my old standby, the blanket stitch. Okay, oh, and if you don't quite catch the thread, there's going to be a little loop hanging out in the front. You can just kind of work your way through it. It's because I didn't have the thread forward. Okay, and then just what I do here, rather than pin it onto the piece first, is I'll throw in a couple stitches here in the beginning. And then once it's anchored down, then I'll go through and pop pins in it. That way I can make sure that the edges of the piece go directly into the halfway point, the fold of the ribbon. You know, I can manipulate it that way. And I don't pin it to death. I just throw in a couple pins here because I do readjust as I stitch. This thing gets kind of slippery, so you want to make sure you're managing it as you go. And then just be mindful of that piece of elastic that you've got pinned on, of course. And you'll want to just work that right into the stitching. When you run out of thread, just knot it, tuck it in behind the ribbon, start a new thread with a knot, and then come up through the ribbon in the place that you would have been coming out of had you not run out of ribbon. So it's really easy to just restart it, no big deal. And now you can just continue on. Again, just take the pins out and readjust. Make sure that that fold is right up against the raw edges of your piece. And then just continue on to the end. Look, I'm out in the sun. So I ran out of yellow and I just grabbed something that was neutral, just a brown. Something I had, using up scraps. So when you get to the corner, to keep that angle, you want to go ahead and knot it on the other side of the thread and put a knot right in the corner. And that way when you round the corner, that little angle stitch will stay in place. Okay, and then here, all I'm trying to do is just kind of round the corner and knot it into the top thread of the previous stitching that I did with the yellow, because we're going to crochet, and so you just want to make sure that there's bars of the blanket stitch going all the way across the folds of the piece, and then just weave it into the back and clip it. Okay, so now I'm going to crochet an edge on here, because when I fold the piece down over the TV, I want a little bit of wiggle room so that it fits really well and doesn't fit too tight. You know, I've only got a 1/2 inch on either side to fold the TV under, so I need to put a little bit of crocheting in there. My TV is about 1 1/4 1.5 wide. So all I'm doing here is, this is just sock weight yarn and a 2.5 millimeter hook, which is a size B. You put a single crochet in each top bar and a chain 1 in between. When you get to the corner, on either side of that corner, the 2 bars, you're going to put 2 single crochets. Oop, looks like I have a little thread I've got to clip off, huh? A chain 1 and then 2 single crochets on the other side of the corner, and then do a chain 1 and then continue on all the way around. Start at the top of this piece that is opposite the elastic band, because that way you can just go right into folding under the piece and starting the next row with a new yarn. Or you could use the same yarn. It doesn't really matter. I've got another sock yarn. All I'm using up are scraps from the Santa Fe kit that I used to do the mesh bottom bag. So I have a bunch of extra little threads and things like that. Once you're in the corner, any of the corner stitches, you know, like I said, this is a down and dirty project. This is real easy. You don't have to be like really crazy about exactly which stitch to go into. As far as folding out of the piece, you're just folding over that top row, so it's really, really simple. It folds just great. Put a little pin just to hold the layers together, and then work single crochets, chain 2, and then you're going to go to the back of the piece and work that separately. So you kind of separate the layers, find the chain 1 space, and do a single crochet in that. Chain 2, come back to the front, find the next chain 1 space, do a single crochet in that, chain 2, open up the layers, go to the back, find the next chain 1 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, and so forth until you're all the way up to the corner. And then in the corner, just put, just slip stitch it right into that corner piece. And as you can see, when you spread the layers out, you've got a little bit of extra room, maybe a half of an inch to play with when you go to slip it over your TV. Repeat that for the other side. Now we get to play with the fun part, the pockets and the little frame piece. So this is my layout that I decided on. Now I've got some long pockets here on the left with a little short one on the bottom left. Some strips so that I can make a frame so I can put pictures in, maps, whatever, something that you want to display. And then on the right, I've got 3 little square pockets that will overlap each other. Long pockets cut 2 4 by 16-inch pieces. These are what I have over here on the left, and they're folded down. And then the little pocket is a 4 by 6-inch piece folded down. The frame pieces are cut 2 inches wide. The long pieces are cut 8 inches long, and the short are 6 inches long. And for the 3 little pockets on the side, I cut them 7 by 4 inches wide. So that's 3 pieces there, alternating colors. For every pocket piece, you want to fold down and press a 1/4 inch on all sides, and then fold it in half. For the frame piece, I did that a little bit differently. For the horizontal pieces, the 6-inch pieces, I just left the short ends raw because I'm going to stitch over them, and I folded them so that the raw edges meet in the middle, that they'll end up to be 1-inch pieces. And then for the long vertical pieces of the frame, I folded down the short end 1/4 of an inch and then repeated the same thing, folded those in so that the raw edges meet in the middle and the pieces 1 inch wide. Okay, and then just sort of lay them up and decide where you want all these pieces. This is the configuration that I think will work best for me. And starting on the right-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and layer these pockets. So I'm going to start with the top one, pin it in place, making sure all my edges are folded down except the bottom. Since I'm going to be layering a pocket on top of that, I don't want to fold those bottom edges under and keep a lot of bulk in there. So we're going to just flatten those out and pin those in place. And then, of course, we're going to work the blanket stitch, but let's do something a little bit different here and put some beads in it. This is just a size 8 pearl cotton. Of course, you could use anything you have, anything you want. Come up out of the corner and bury that knot in the layers of the seam. Make your first blanket stitch to secure it in place. And then every time before you insert the needle into the fabric to do your next one, you're just going to pick up a bead. And then those beads will sit across the top bars of the blanket stitch. Makes it really pretty. Continuing on down to the end, leave about 3/4 of an inch off that side for layering, you know, free of beads. And then when you stitch along the bottom, make sure that those edges are lying flat, in other words, not folded under, and you don't want any beads along the bottom, obviously, because we're going to be layering that next pocket on the top. When you reach the corner, to go up the other side, make sure that you leave 3/4 of an inch again, and then continue with beading up the other side, obviously leaving the top completely free so that it is a pocket. Repeat the whole thing for the next 2 pockets, alternating the colors if you want to, and making sure everything is lined up. Eye it up here, you know, lying flat. When you put the 3rd piece on, then obviously you want to go around the entire piece with beads and make sure that the bottom edges are folded under. And then you have your 3-layer little pockets. You put anything you want in there. The frame pieces, start with the 2 horizontal shorter pieces with the raw edges and lie them down in place and place a ruler on them. Make sure that they are 7.5 inches apart from the very top edge of the top piece to the bottom edge of the bottom piece, because that's how long our vertical pieces are. So pin those in place, and then you can see at the top here I've just run a little bit of stitching on the short edges 1/4 of an inch away, and then on the bottom piece I did that same thing, but then I ran the blanket stitch going along the bottom just to hold that in place. Then take the folded vertical pieces, put them on the outsides of the short piece, making sure you're covering up the short ends. So the outermost edges of those vertical pieces will line up with the raw edges of the horizontal pieces. Pin those in place really well, and we're going to blanket stitch around the entire outside of this frame. And then obviously you don't have to work across the bottom, and certainly don't work across the top, because we want this to be a little frame we can stick pictures in and rotate pictures out. These little short edge pieces, we want to make sure that we're doing the blanket stitch as well. The inner part of the frame, we're going to run a blanket stitch all the way around, but obviously not to the background, because we want this edge to be nice and firm so that the seam allowances aren't flapping out, and we want it to make it look finished. So run a blanket stitch all the way around the inside, not attaching it to the piece, so that the only thing that's really anchored down is the very outside perimeter of the 2 long edges and the bottom. There you have it, your TV protective slipcover with storage pockets. This is perfect for me. I can store my incense and my matches, my tarot card reading for the day with these decorative little clothespins that I got when I was in Forest Grove from a local artist. I can put my current RV park that I'm staying in one of these long pockets, because it's always got the Wi-Fi code and all that good stuff. The frame where I am going to be able to print some pictures and kind of rotate them out. I can hold all kinds of pictures in here and then just keep rotating. Right now I've got this little creatures book in there from Meow Wolf. And in the right pockets, I've got my little slide puzzle treasure that I used to play with when I was traveling with my grandparents in their Winnebago. And my grandma's old little vintage case that is so sweet. I keep change in there, laundry change, quarters, and a pack of cards, of course. And I am just thrilled with the backdrop of the place that I keep all of my cherished treasures. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing to my channel, and supporting me through my Etsy shop. And my ride is getting pimped up. Well, okay, primped up. I can't believe I'm nearing the end of my way out west journey. Tomorrow, I'm going to hit that hot tub one last time, mimosa in hand, do laundry, pack up, and drive the next morning to my halfway to Reno point, Lake Shasta. Next week, I'll be posting pictures of and revealing my results of the big cribbage tournament. Who knows? If luck's on my side and I hold the right cards, I might just pay for that ticket after all.